All right, guys, so for some route technique, some of it is speed, some of it's good cuts, some of it's understanding the defense, and also some of it is just being able to sell something to sell a route and then be able to get open off of that, making the DB think running something else. So we're going to get a little bit of different examples of all of that with Tank Dell here. So Tank Dell, wide receiver for the Texans, had a fantastic week in Week 9 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to go through 3 different routes that he had. He scores a touchdown on 2 of them, and another one's a good deep ball towards the end of the game. And how he gets open, and what is it about these routes that really allowed him to be successful. So the first one we're going to look at here, we're going to look at the right side of the screen, and this is going to be a stutter and go. All right, so it's going to be a go ball that C.J. Stroud is going to hit him deep for a touchdown, and we're going to see it from the other side. But what he does a really good job of is stuttering at a certain point. So I talked about this in another video of levels for defensive backs, and usually our levels are going to be at 5 yards, okay, which would be here for them, 10 yards, all right, and then 15. That's usually the breaking points for different routes. So once he passes the 5 yards and he gets up to 10, that's where he knows Carlton Davis is going to be looking for him to do something, all right? On first down and 10, all right, they already have one guy running deeper inside here. So when he does this stutter, and he does a very good job of sitting down in the chair, he freezes Carlton Davis because now he's thinking he's going to attack in here or out here or just stop and turn around and just sit inside of their zone, okay? So when he does that stutter, he freezes the DB, which is Carlton Davis, but he does a very good job of not only 2 things. One, he throws the shoulders down as if he's really going to throw it down. So what you'll see some guys do is they'll keep their shoulders high, but they pitter-patter their feet. What talks to a DB is that those shoulders dropping. So when he drops those shoulders, that freezes him, number 1. The second thing he does a very good job of is he keeps his shoulders and hips in line with where he wants to go down the field. So he doesn't do too much faking in, faking out. He does a really good job of slamming the shoulders down, sitting in that chair, and then he keeps his shoulders and hips going in the same direction. So we're going to see it from the other side once we flip. All right, and then he just climbs and beats him with pure speed after the fact. But when he gets to that point at 10 yards, when he throws those shoulders down, that's where you see Carlton Davis throw the brakes on. All right, so he tries to throw the brakes on because he sees those shoulders down. All right, and the quick head nod, even when he does the quick head nod, he still keeps those shoulders and hips going in this direction. All right, so he doesn't turn himself too much. All he does is just kind of throw the head inside, but he's sitting down in that chair. Carlton Davis slows down, has to freeze for a second, and he's gone for a touchdown. All right, next one I want to look at, we're going to be using the all-22 film for both of these next 2. All right, so the next route that we're going to have here is a corner route with 14 or 16 seconds left in the game. All right, so we're going to see it right here. We're going to watch the catch from the regular TV footage, and then we're going to look at it from the all-22 film. All right, so really nice catch there by him on the sideline. Does a very good job with the toe tap, which some receivers do not do a good job of, realizing where they are on the field. But what leads to this play? So when we look at the all-22 film here, all right, Tampa is in a cover 2 defense. All right, so we see these corners outside looking in. They're playing shallow, and you have the 2 high safeties. Okay, so the 2 high safeties are trying to take away the big play and anything deep down the field. The 2 corners are trying to cover the sideline, and they're trying to avoid these receivers catching it and taking it out of bounds. So they're going to cover all down here. This guy's going to cover here. And then you have safety up here and safety up here. They're trying to keep the edges covered so that these guys can't catch and get out of bounds because there's only 16 seconds left. All right? So when they run this play, when they play cover 2, typically what you see is corners are usually at about 5 yards off the ball. Okay? They're not usually 10 yards down the field. So what they're doing is they're extending their cover 2 coverage. All right? So they're starting it a little bit deeper. All right, so if they started at 5 yards, a typical corner route is going to be, you're going to break at 7 yards and break up towards the front pylon. All right, or back pylon, depending on where you are in the field. If we're a little closer, it'd be towards the back pylon. So because the DB's playing a little further up the field, Tank Dell does a very good job of now taking his route further up the field. All right, he knows if he broke that at 7 yards right now, which would be right here, if he breaks this right now, this corner is going to be able to sit right under that route and pick the ball off or bat it away, either way right now. So what does Tank Dell do? He takes it further up the field to about 15. All right, that holds the safety because he's going to keep trying to get depth because he wants to make sure he covers the end zone. They don't want someone to score. So by him continuing to climb up the field, then he snaps it off right about 15 and is able to get to the sidelines. All right, right about 15, boom, snaps it off, DB doesn't have much time to react to it. It allows the tight end here to get underneath towards the sidelines, which is going to hold that corner here. And by him waiting to snap it off, he's just outside of the viewpoint of the corner. So now C.J. Stroud, all he has to do is put it right out towards that sideline. He's able to make the catch, and they get them much closer to the end zone. So it's a nuance, guys, for routes. It's not necessarily about the route here. It's about understanding what the coverage is and then taking your route a little bit further. All right, so it's not just, hey, we can run a really sharp route. He extended it because they extended their coverage. Okay, so sometimes you have to be able to adjust with that depending on what the coverage is. So he does a very good job against a high cover 2, extending that corner route, running it a little bit further, gets himself open. Okay, then the next play is going to be the touchdown that's going to win the game. All right, so we're going to see it here. He's going to be on the outside. C.J. Stroud is going to find him in between all of these guys. All right, but what leads to this? All right, we go to this next play here. All right, we come down here to the touchdown, and we have the Tampa Bay playing cover 4. All right, they're trying to spread their guys out and pretty much make it so it's impossible to find someone. All right, so when we're in cover 4 here, we have the field split into fourths. Okay, so this safety has in here, this safety has obviously out here, this safety in here, and this corner in here. Okay, so what Tank Dell does from right here, he does a good job of, is he knows that the receiver who's starting in the middle, all right, he's running a post across the field. So what that's going to do is it's going to drag this safety in here. But he has to wait until that safety really commits to in here, because if he starts to run his post and go now, this safety is now going to be able to play the middle and break back across for this and pick it off. All right, so what he does a really good job of, as he attacks up the field, he knows that that guy is going across now. So what he does is he puts Carlton Davis in an island, and he does a quick jab to the outside. So right here, he throws his body weight to the outside, which freezes Carlton Davis, thinking he may be going to the corner. And then he snaps it inside and skinny, so he stays away from the safety, and he fits right up this seam, which was right in between that gap. So if we look right here, when they were lined up, he's up the seam and kind of floating into the middle. He has out here, and when he ends up catching this football, he ends up catching it right in between the two of them, right? So that would be the seam right up in here, and this would kind of be that back corner. So he finds the middle ground in between the two of them. All right, so it's really the nuance of the timing. So going later, when that DB was already going to be looking at covering the crosser or the post, and then he also just throws his head to the outside to just freeze him, thinking he may go to the corner because he'd have to cover that. Now he's able to get inside, and CJ puts a really good ball right there, direct line into him, and it's perfect timing to just hit him right in that one spot of the zone that had to be open. So it's route tech, guys, in terms of, body control and selling certain things. It's also understanding the defense, taking our routes a little bit deeper. Then it goes into those pieces of understanding what are the other routes, what's the combination, and what's the open zone, and when do I need to be there. So Tank Dell did a really good job in Week 9 covering all of the bases on this, so very impressive by him. So guys, click the subscribe button. We're going to have videos like this every single week where we just try to go through really good players, what they did for that week, from the mental approach, the fundamental approach, from physicals standpoint to the mental standpoint. Just try and break it down for you guys to have you look at football a little bit differently and a little more in depth, so then you can take that learning back to your practices or when you're training to kind of see it a little bit differently and start to learn more about the game so you can give yourself the edge over other players.